up, everybody? Hopefully I set up the frame okay. I'll be adjusting the frame in this video so you can better see what I'm working on, what I'm doing with my hands, without being too clunky about it anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start those tomato supports that I was talking about. This is going to kind of resemble kind of a really tall clothesline, basically. I'm going to create a set of tees. These will be the cross pieces for that. These 2x6, 2x8s will be the cross pieces for those. And then there will be guy wires that run between these to drop lines down to my tomatoes to support them as they grow upwards. Like I said, I've had issues with cages. I've tried to build cages that are sturdier than the ones you buy at the store. I've tried using just the normal cages, but because I prefer indeterminate tomatoes, which grow all season and keep getting bigger and bigger until the frost kills them, they just don't perform very well late season. They either get crushed or bent or unmanageable. So I'm going to try the suspended support technique. The way I'm going to secure these in is with these large machine bolts, which I will bolt through a 4x4, and when we get to those, I'll show you what I'm talking about. But today, with the little bit of sunlight I have left, I'm just going to work on these, and I will work on these throughout the week. So if you see my my clothing change throughout this video, that's the reason why, is I only get so many hours of daylight. Even here in my shop, there's not really enough light for me to work really late. At least on something like this that I'm trying to video. So I'm going to go ahead and move the camera in so you get a better angle, maybe a front angle of what I'm working on, and I'll work off to this side. That way you can see step by step how I'm going to build these. We'll probably get through the cutting, securing, and probably the first part of the staining today. At least that's my goal. We'll see how far we get. So give me just a minute to move the camera and we'll get started. So first thing I want to do is measure these out to 4 feet. My beds are 4 feet wide, so that'll be plenty to cover wherever I need to put the guide wires. So I'm going to make marks at 4 feet. Each one of these will laminate to itself, so I need to keep them relatively even. If we're not perfect for this particular scenario, it's not that big of a deal, but I do like it to look relatively nice. So a board will always have, even though this is an 8-foot board, a board will always have roughly a ½ inch or so extra length to it. I'm not sure why, it just does. So I'm going to double check my measurements on both directions, 4 foot and 4 foot. You see we have about a 3/4 inch gap here in the center. So these boards are relatively different lengths. The reason we can't get consistently length boards these days, I have no idea. It's almost like we don't care anymore, but it's okay. We can fix that with a little cutting, that's all. So, get our boards marked the way we want them. Over here, grab myself a square. That way I can make my mark. Move it over. Again. And for anybody who doesn't know, though I think most people do, a square, and you get it as a speed square or as a normal square, all a square does is use a straight plane, in this case the side of the board, to create a straight line from a mark. It goes at a 90-degree angle to the flat edge of the side. That's all it does. We're going to get these marked out. And I do apologize in advance. I am doing this all in one shot. This is something I just need to get done. So the video isn't going to have as many smooth cuts to it as my usual videos, because the kitchen is a little bit more forgiving than a shop. So, oh, never mind. This is a speed square. Smaller version, same purpose. They call it a speed square because you don't have to hold your thumb against it to keep it on the edge. It has a ridge on it for you. So, in this case, you would just use it like this, do a quick line and move. Called a speed square. But we'll go into more about speed square versus squares and later projects. Like I said, my tomatoes are starting to get too big, and I need to get them supported. So we're just kind of going to be running through it. Now I use some battery powered tools. Corded tools are just fine. I haven't had any problems with any of my battery powered tools to really at all, but I'm gonna have to come to the other side to do my first cut, mainly because well, actually, let's do it this way. That, like I said, later videos, I'll do my best to have this kind of thing put out or measured out in frame. But like I said, I need to get these built, so kind of don't have a lot of time to mess around with it. I'm just going to slide it over where it clears the edge of my edge. I'm just going to let this first one fall just on the ground. Follow that line. Set my blade depth, of course. That would be nice. Rest for a second. Stay. Back in. Alright, here we go. Don't do what I just did. Does not have some form of eye protection. A sliver in your eye. I like to use clear glasses inside of my shop. Fortunately, those are not sitting around here. And like I said, not a whole lot of time. So, I'm going to wear some shaded ones. They're not too bad, as long as the light's good in here. You can just wear sunglasses or whatever your preference is. And then we're going to take that small piece, that excess, off so we have two 4-foot pieces. Just like that. Now we have two 4-foot pieces. They'll basically double up like this. And then we'll bolt them together. I'm going to get them all cut before we do that. But it'll look like this, pretty much when it's done. So it has some sturdiness to it, it'll be bolted. I am going to notch where that 4x4 is so it slots in just a bit to keep it from twisting. We'll go through that when we get there. But let's get the rest of these boards cut, then we'll move on to the next step. So our next step is to figure out where our bolt holes will be. Now, we know we want them to be evenly spaced on either side of a 4x4. So the first thing we need to do is actually find the center of the 4x4. So on a 4-footer, that'd be right at 2 feet will be center. So 2 feet, that's center. So we know that's the center. And we know our bolts. Grab some of those. We want our bolts spaced out at even intervals. So we know 2 feet is our center. We know our bolt. We want to come back. So this is 3 even spaces. So 24 inches divided by 3. Who can tell me what 24 divided by 3 is? That's right, it's 8. So 8 inches will be the center here, and 16 inches will be the center here. And that's where our bolts go. It's that simple. Nice, easy math. So 8 inches, 16 inches. Now, the more complicated part is your width. So you want it to be centered top to bottom, as well as evenly spaced left to right. So this 2x6 is technically only 5.5 inches. So that gives you 2 3/4 inches for your center. Just take your 5.5 divided by 2. So I know 1 bolt hole is there. And bolt hole is there. One bolt hole is there. One bolt hole is there. Now, we have those marked. We're going to need a drill. And I know that my carriage bolts that I have are 5/16 of an inch. It's exactly what width I want, because we look at this bolt. Let me come over here. We look at the bolt. I don't know if you can actually see it. It's a little dark. But if you look at the bolt, it's got a hex nut built into the top. That's because it's a carriage bolt. And I'm going to use that with a rubber mallet and drive that in order to get the size that I want. This one. Take my drill. Like I said, I apologize for this video. It's just I need to get this done. So if I'm going to shoot it, you're just going to have to bear with me. Move over. I have my 2 boards lined up, top to bottom, back to front. Everything's nice and smooth on each side. And I'm just going to drill through, straight up and down on each hole. Just like that. Not trying to do anything fancy, just hold them together. Holes through. Make sure you punch all the way through, of course. Alright. Punch all the way through. Now this isn't the only thing that's going to be securing these together. This is just the main thing that's going to be securing it together. So this is going to be the load bearing part anyway. Don't worry, And that little hex nut piece, I'm actually going to drive in until it's flush. See that? That'll keep it from turning because I've notched into that wood now. So that'll keep everything from turning. So I'm going to get 3 more of these bolts. Three more bolts. Drive them through. I'm going to have to back these back out, but I want to get them seated. Just like that. Roll this over. You see these are only sticking out just a little bit. Don't worry about that. I'm going to cure that in a second. Back these back out. Need an actual hammer for that. Turn that up. Grab an actual hammer. Back these out a bit. Back over. I'll pull them up just a bit. Not all the way, just enough. I'm going to roll this back over. I'm going to go back and get my drill. I'm going to use this paddle bit to inset where my washer is going to be. I make that small inset so that way the washer has somewhere to set. Further. That way it's inset enough where I can put a washer in there and then easily get the nut on the end of it. So what I'm going to do, drive these back through. Like that. Roll it over. Grab my washers. Handful of nuts. Drop washer, drop washer, drop washer, washer, and then get the nuts on. It's like that. This is the main support of this. It should hold together just fine. I may or may not, after I get done with all of these, I may or may not actually drive a few extra screws. It doesn't seem like it needs it. It seems to be holding it together just fine, which was my hope in the first place. So now I'm going to grab my socket set. Find an appropriate socket. There we go. Just gonna tighten these in. A little bit at a time. You don't want to spin them, strip them. Just pull them tight, you'll hear the wood kind of creak. That's pretty much where you want it. Just hear it creak a bit. This is why I prefer carriage bolts, so I don't have to have, like, you can get hex bolts, but then I'd have to have a wrench underneath holding it in place instead of just being able to drive that hex head into the wood. And then it'll do all that by itself. Alright, just like that, we've made our first crossbeam. So I'm going to keep the camera rolling for the rest of the crossbeams. I'll probably speed it up, that way you're not watching a whole lot of dead air. But I'll keep the video running and edit it as best I can. Like I said, I didn't really set up for this. I just need to get these built. And hopefully you guys enjoy it regardless of me not really being prepped properly. Because I have to get these up. So stick around, I'll leave the camera running, and I'm going to build 3 more of these. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get these painted with a stain to help seal them against the weather. I'll also just put it all over the bolts. I'm going to stain it with the same stain that I use on my fence, which is a redwood color semi-transparent stain. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt to mix, but it comes out with a really good color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get set up for that, and I will do that in this next cut. So for this step, where I'm just staining everything for these cross beams, just paint pan, one of the small little rollers, and my stain. So So once I get this mixed up and poured out, I'm going to move this over to my table and pull my table a little bit closer. But once I get everything set up, we'll be right back. All right. One of the differences between stain and paint. Stain is very, very thin, so a lot goes a long way. So just that little bit that I just put on there will probably do the whole front side of this board and then some. The stain does not act the same way as paint. Stain basically soaks into it, gives it a different color. This is a redwood stain. I'm actually going to apply some of this to this other piece. So. Until I can put pressure. Now you can also rag it off or use like an old t-shirt or something like that to wipe the stain. If you want to keep it very light. Me, I like to let it soak in, but I don't like it to be blotchy, so I'm going to try and spread it out best I can. And really what the stain is going to do is it's going to bind into that grain a lot better than paint. So you'll still get that grain, wood grain look, which I really do like. This particular stain also has a waterproofing element. So help keep it from degrading in the weather. Even though it's pressure treated wood, it's always best to have as many layers of protection as possible. Looks like I am finally to the point where I can dry some of the top off. Don't want to do too much. Like so. Like I said, this is semi-transparent stain. You can get it where it's really transparent, where you can barely see the hue difference unless you put quite a few coats on. I use semi-transparent just because it seems to come out better overall, as far as not having to put a bunch of coats on it. But all you're trying to do is get it into the wood grain, get that water sealant into the wood grain as best you can. Just kind of go over it a bit at a time, and then just let it set. Don't have to do anything special with it. Rotate it up, so. Do my edge, like that. Good. It's not as hard as people think it is. I do want to show you something if it's in camera. If you do want a slightly lighter color, usually I would use a shirt, but I don't have one handy. You would just, after you apply it, you just wipe it, and you get that nice stained color. Just like that. Now it's all over my hand. That's fine. I'm sure everybody at work won't think I killed anybody. Just like that. Perfect. Matter of fact, I think that actually looks better. Actually, wipe down the rest of it. We'll see how it comes out. Just how I normally do it. And of course, stain is an oil. So if you get it on clothes, if you get it on anything you're wearing, it ain't coming out. They call it stain for a reason. So make sure that you're mindful of what you're wearing when you're using stains, because they are not forgiven. If you get it on something you are not expecting to get it on. We just want to make sure we have nice even coat like that. and stained. Now all we got to do is let it dry. So I'm going to keep going with painting the rest of these. I'll keep the video running and decide how I'm going to edit it later. Like I said, it's not exactly how I planned to do this, but I am out of time to get this project done. So I'm going to do the best that I can. And hopefully the way I edit it, hopefully everybody will enjoy it. I'll show you the finished product, of course, later in the next segment, after it's all set up and dry. One thing you do have to be careful of is drips, because you'll get, the stain does show drips pretty bad, so try not to do that, like I just did. So I'm going to try and rub those down real quick. It's really hard when you're using stain to keep it from dripping because it is very thin. So just try your best. If you get it on there too thick, like I said, you can wipe it. It'll be just fine. Matter of fact, this reminds me of my mom and dad's old bed frame they used to have. For that old, geez, I'm going to show their age, but that old waterbed they had, it had that kind of redwood stained color to it. I'm pretty sure that had shellac on it as well, but I'd have to ask Dad. What we're gonna do, get it nice and coated. Like I said, you can come back later and wipe it. You just want it to soak in as best as you can. Every time you go back for a little bit more stain, just be cognizant. You don't want 5 million gallons of it like paint. A little bit goes a really long way. Just stain it out. Nicely stained. I'll show you what I use instead of that t-shirt technique. I just grabbed another one of these 99-cent rollers that I have. Quick. A nice clean roller, nothing on it. And this board has been sitting and soaking for a minute. I know all I'm doing is going over it, taking out any smudges, any excess. You'll see it's just turning a little bit pink. Nothing fancy, you're just making sure you don't have any drips. Make sure you're all evened out. Make sure you don't need to add anything. Don't. But at this point, that stain is well soaked in. All you're doing is evening it off. Same thing on the next one. Just go over it nice and easy. You don't have any pools or drips or splotches or things you don't want. You'll have this nice redwood color and water sealed. to them. Pick up any excess. Now this will take about 8 hours a set because it's an oil base. So it's going to take a little while for this to set up. I won't be able to handle it for a little while. But yeah, that'll probably be where I end it for today. But in the next video, we'll go outside, take our sawhorses outside, and get our 8-foot 4x4s set up and ready. I need a little bit more space to work with those. But yeah, just like that. All of our cross beams are done. They're stained. And so tomorrow when I get off of work, if I have some sunlight, I'll go ahead and film the 4x4s. And if we have enough time, maybe even sliding these and getting them bolted to the 4x4s. So I will see you then.